It's an honor to be out here as usual, out in nature and greeting you, bring this message of self-realization to you, whereby I'm pointing you to look inwardly to discover your true or your real identity is your divinity. Thus the reason why I want to speak to you concerning your spiritual autobiography. And that is why my teaching is that the Bible addresses the human mind and must be interpreted psychologically, that it is not literal, neither is it secular history. For it was written symbolically and it has no reference to anyone that existed thousands of years ago or to any actual event that took place on earth thousands of years ago. It all have to do with the human psyche. So from Genesis 1 to Revelation 22, it's all a great psychological drama. Now I want to speak to you concerning Abdullah, the black mystic from Ethiopia, Neville Goddard mentor, who taught Neville Goddard the secret of all ages. And when I say the secret of all ages, I'm saying to you, all that have ever existed before in this world, there have always been one common thread. And the common thread is this, it's simple. We become what we think about. And when you look around, there's a divine law that is right in front of your eyes. That all you just have to do is look around and you would see that law right before your eyes. And the law is every seed and every species always reproduce after its kind. I would have even written a book on it called Can't Be Proven Wrong by Any Christian. Now, you can never plant pumpkin and reap watermelon. You can never plant corn and reap peas. It is impossible. No one can change that law. It's a divine law, and that law been set in the universe to teach us that truth can never be proven wrong. Okay? And truth would always overpower lie. Light will always overcome darkness. And they are the polar opposite of each other. So we need the darkness to balance, for balance, to have the light. And we need the light to have the darkness. That's why you're told in Isaiah 45:5-7, that I create the darkness and I create the light. I create good and I create evil. And there's no God beside me. Because God is our own human imagination. And that's why also in Deuteronomy 32:39, it is stated also that I am the one who kill and the one who make alive, the one who wound and the one who heal. And I am God and there's no other. So there's only God that is existing in the world. And God is our imagination. So here Abdullah was teaching Neville that the secret of all ages is about the imagination, which is God in man, which is knowing thyself. So here we see it was a time like now when there was so much employment. Right now you have so much employment because of the pandemic. And also, there's so much people who was under the energy of fear. And that time was known as the Great Depression from 1929 to 1939. And after that Great Depression, they had a world war. Okay? And we are seeing the same thing is happening right now. And it was around that time in 1933 that Neville, he had no work. He had no money. But he was studying with Abdullah, this black mystic from Ethiopia. And he had this burning desire to travel to Barbados to see his family. And for 12 years, he was living in the United States of America, and he never had such burning desire. So he went to his teacher, which was Abdullah, and was telling Abdullah how he was having this burning desire to go and see his family. And Abdullah told him, "You're already in Barbados," and taught him how to sleep as if he's sleeping in his mother's home in Barbados and how to walk the streets of New York in his imagination as if he's walking on Palm Line Street in Barbados and Coconut Lane Street in Barbados, or the different streets in Barbados. Yet in Barbados, the tallest building was like say 2 to 3 stories, and in America there were skyscrapers. And he had to have this kind of vivid imagination to actually perform all of that in his imagination to make it a reality. Then the time came when he received a letter, and in the letter was $50, teaching us that we can manifest money consciously when we learn the secret of all ages, teaching us that we can actually create whatever we desire in this world when we discover the secret of all ages. When we discover who we are, we would realize that we actually were born into this world in amnesia, which is a state of forgetfulness, and each and every one of us are seeking to know who we are. So therefore, we wouldn't identify ourselves based on our skin color. We wouldn't identify ourselves based on nationalities. So race, nationality, all of these things, they give us false identity. And anyone who holds to those things to identify themselves, they're in false identity. That is why I always teach you to look inwardly, to discover that your real identity is your divinity. So my brothers and my sisters, that experience taught Neville that he's the Lord and Master of his own destiny. So what I'm saying to you, you deserve what belongs to you. For wealth and abundance, good health, it is your birthright. You are here to learn. You are here to vibrate on a higher level by discovering your higher self. You are here to learn to manipulate the element of earth, wind, water, fire, and spirit, because you are a spirit having a human experience. And that is why it's very important for us who are teaching humanity the secret of all ages to teach them how they have to love themselves and believe in themselves, and that's how they have to look inwardly to discover that it is their own thoughts that is creating their reality and creating their personality. Therefore, they have to become more responsible for their thoughts. So here we see Abdullah was teaching Neville the power of thoughts. We see Abdullah was teaching Neville that he is responsible for his environment, that he is the creator, that he is the Lord and Master, and that there's no one to change but self. And there's no one on this earth to blame for anything but yourself. So you're responsible for yourself. Therefore, my brothers and my sisters, you're told to seek ye first the kingdom of God in Matthew 6:33. And says that when you seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, which is a discovery. So righteousness is a discovery. It's a realization, it's self-realization. And true salvation is self-realization. And self-realization is real education. So when you seek that first, and you discover that first, all these things that you so desire in this world, they will be added unto you, because you will learn the secret of creation. And you'll be able to create your reality consciously, and you'll be able to use that power on behalf of another. That is why you are told to love the Lord thy God with all of thy strength and thy might, and thy neighbor as thyself. Which means to love God is to love yourself. Because when you realize that the self of man is God, and God and man are one, you'll also realize that the name of God is I am, from generation to generation. And that's why you'll be able to say, I am the resurrection and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And then you're told in Acts chapter 3, that when Peter and John, which is love and faith, when they come together in this journey of life and found this body to be the temple and living by the higher power, and they meet their brother who is in need and is lying, crippled financially and can't stand on 2 feet, and they ask of them how you, who would have discovered the power of all ages, would say to them that silver and gold have I none, which is to say, I have a power that is greater than silver and gold, that is greater than money. Then you will say to them, but such have I, give I thee. Then you're going to say, in the identity of knowing who you are. So when you read in the Bible, when you say in the name is speaking of identity. Christ is the greatest experience that you would experience, which is the experience of the highest state of consciousness, which is experiencing your God self, your higher self, your creative self. That you will say through that power, rise up and walk, and you'll be able to put your brother or your sister in a place of affluence where they can stand on their 2 feet financially. And then it says that he was walking and leaping and praising God. You are the one who would stand up and walking and leaping and giving praise to the God that you would have found within yourself. Why? Because there's a man who's here that can turn on the light to teach you of the secret of the ages. So down to the ages, the secret has always been that we become what we think about. The secret down to the ages has always been that imagination creates reality. The secret throughout the ages have always been that we are magicians and that we are to discover our magical self. The secret of all the ages have been that we came from a magical land. Because magic is faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen, teaching you that everything that you see, it came out of the unseen to the seen. It was once invisible, now it is visible, teaching us that we have a visible self and an invisible self. And our invisible self is the creator. Therefore, when the Bible speaks of God in man, it is speaking about man's imagination. And that's the secret of the ages. And it's the greatest secret that you can ever discover on the face of this earth. And that is what Abdullah was teaching Neville. And that wisdom is greater than money. So it is greater than education. It is greater than politics. It is greater than religion. It is greater than anything else. That is why those of us who are bringing this message to you, there's no amount of money or no payment or anything that anyone can give us to really compensate for the wisdom that we are passing on to them, because it is priceless. When the Bible speaks of the pearl of great price, that pearl of great price is within you. And we're teaching you that when you find that pearl that is within you, you would realize everything else doesn't mean anything but that and that alone. And you will realize that the only reality there is your consciousness. And that your pure consciousness, pure awareness, that's who you are. And you will no longer have any false identity. So with that being said, my brother and my sister, start getting dark. And I want to thank you very much. And I want to say to you that if this is the first time that you're listening to me and what I'm saying, if it's making sense to you, then it is for you. So I would encourage you, if you haven't subscribed already, to subscribe, to like, to share, to comment, and to remember that this message I bring to you as usual, it is the single eye, yes, the single eye message of self-realization, which Matthew 6:22 teaches us that if your eye be single, your whole body will be full of light. And my brothers and my sisters, I'm being real honest and true to you. Hadn't it been that I would have awakened within myself like a fiery being, And when I say awaken within myself, I'm speaking about that single eye, awaken within me. And after a great mighty shaking, and I ascend like a fiery being, and rolled the stone away, and came out of the tomb, and realized who I am, and realized my Christ self was buried in this tomb, and understand that I descended into generation, and now I ascend into regeneration, and would have experienced the virgin birth, the true birth, the birth from the skull. That is why I always say the story of Mary and Joseph is the greatest lie that have been ever fed to humanity, when they believe that the Bible is literal and that the Bible is secular history. That is why I always give you the symbol of the single eye, saying to you, don't let anyone deceive you to make you believe that it is an evil symbol and the US dollar. No, it is a symbol of the all-seeing eye of God in you, which is your imagination. Therefore, you would have an awakened imagination and come to understand that it is the rising of the S-U-N and the S-O-N, and that it is the dawning of a new day in your life. For the sun parallels the human imagination parallels the sun. For without the sun, there is no life and there is no light, and without the human imagination, there isn't anything made that was made. And you're told in Psalms 84:11 that the Lord thy God is a sun and a shield, and no good thing will he withhold from you. And the sun has never withheld any good thing from you. Also in Malachi 4:2, you're told that the sun, as in the S-U-N, of righteousness shall arise in you with healing in his wings. That's why I'm bringing healing to you, by bringing the secret of all ages to you, as Abdullah brought that same secret to Neville Goddard and taught him that our imagination creates reality. And I'm saying to you that imagination creates reality. And that is why I'm encouraging you, even now as I speak, to use your mind power, which is your solar power, your sun power, your creative power, your God power, to achieve your every desire. So with that being said, I want to say peace, love you all, I'm out.